The Water Resources Management Authority has issued a flood warning for three districts, namely Kabwe and Luangwa in Central Province and Luangwa District in Lusaka Province. The Opposition Patriotic Front has urged Zambians to start protesting against the high cost of living, which has become unbearable to most citizens. The Education Minister has expressed concern over the misconceptions surrounding sexual reproductive health education in the country. The Water Resources Management Authority has issued a flood warning for three districts, namely Kabwe and Luano in Central Province and Luangwa District in Lusaka Province. WAMA Public Relations Officer Mubiana Nalwendo explains that the flood monitoring system currently has a three trigger points with an 80% probability of occurrence. Mr. Naloendo says one alert is on the Mulungushi River, the other one on the Mukushi River, and two on the Luangwa River. He added that the high rise in the river flows is likely to affect the Kabwe, Luano and Luangwa districts. Mr. Nalwendo says the details are that the Mulungushi River in Kabwe district is currently showing a trigger of a medium flood, which is likely to reach the peak on the 28th of January 2023, which he said will affect Muilava and Chebende villages, King George Youth College, Mulungushi University, including farms around Mulungushi village. He also revealed that the Mukushi River in Rano district is likely to experience severe flooding starting on the 23rd of January 2023, which is likely to increase in intensity by the 28th of January.
So as the Water Resources Management Authority, WAMA, we have yet again detected three flood alerts in three different districts of the country. So we are seeing floods likely to happen in Luano district, in Kabwe as well as Luangwa district. So now details are that Mulungushi River in Kabwe is expected to experience medium floods, and these floods will reach their peak on the 28th of January 2023. So the floods will affect a number of places that we are seeing on our system. This will include Muilava village, Chevende village, King George Youth Center, and Mulungushi University. Other places include those locations around Mulungushi village. So Mukushi River is also in Luano district. It's expected to experience severe floods. These floods will start from the 23rd of January 2023 and will keep increasing in intensity up to the 28th of January 2023. Remember, these floods we are seeing are very severe, and these will affect places around the river stream, including Old Mukushi community. Luangwa River in Luangwa district is also likely to experience mild floods. The floods will affect
The Opposition Patriotic Front, PF, has urged Zambians to start protesting against the high cost of living, which has become unbearable to most Zambians. Party Deputy Spokesperson Edwin Ifwekelo has charged that the Zambian people have been extremely frustrated because of the skyrocketing prices of basic goods and services. And Mr. Alufwekelo has doubted if the ruling UPND will fulfill the campaign promises they made to the people during the 2021 election campaign. He says the manner in which the government has managed the energy crisis leaves much to be desired and is a clear indication that they were voted into office just for self-preservation. Mr. Alufwekelo says the confusion in the health sector, where government officials are issuing contradictory statements concerning the shortage of medicines in health facilities in the country, is another source of concern, and has called on the government to be serious on how it is addressing these issues. He says that the ruling UPND is trying to pretend that all is well while things are not working as they expected while in the opposition. Mr. Lufukelo has alleged that Zambians were better off under the leadership of the Patriotic Front than now.
Zambian people were better off than the situation where they are now, where they are starving. People are starving. People can't breathe. People can't breathe, and I'm telling President Hakainde Hichilema, we can't breathe. Give us space. We need to breathe. So Zambians must start now protesting that please, we can't breathe. They are suffocating because of the economic jargons of this government that is failing to deal with the livelihood of the Zambian people. And this is a result of what we told you, that with IMF coming into play, expect hardship. Media is not excluded, politicians are not excluded. Expect hardship. because of the conditions that have not been availed to the Zambian people. It's only President Hakainde Hichilema who know the condition. One of them is what we're experiencing now, 12-hour load shedding. Even when you go to a meeting with stakeholders, you still fail to handle it. You segment it into 6-hour load shedding and tell people that you are trying to resolve. What do you resolve? It's the same issue. If you are load shedded twice in a week, in a day, just because you have segmented into 6 hours, does this change the dynamics? It doesn't. Still people are suffering. You go in the night, in the dark, you wake up in the morning, you are in the dark. Can't die on. So it's not right. So let the president do something right. He must not let him listen more to the Zambian people than what he's doing now, listening to these bazungos. He's so obsessed with these bazungos. Now, as we have started calling him international president, because he likes getting accolades from out. When people praise him, and then for him, he's saving. No, I think he must do more listening to what people of Zambia want him to do, and let him stop doing self-praise. Let the Zambian people praise him.
Education Minister Douglas Siyakalema has expressed concern over the misconceptions surrounding sexual reproductive health education in the country. Mr. Siyakalema says that the connotation on sexual reproductive health education is sometimes taken out of context. The minister says some elderly people, when they hear sexual reproductive health education, they think it is encouraging young people to engage in immoral activities when it is meant to help children to avoid falling pregnant while in schools.
The problem is that when you add the word sex, people think that you are trying to teach something else. No, that is a different thing. Inside those pamphlets, you go and check. It is about delay into becoming a mother. So what does that mean? It means that don't involve yourself. Okay, but the way the connotation, sometimes the way it has been taken, is out of context. So it is actually the elderly people who are misleading themselves.
Still in education, Special Education Teachers Union of Zambia has expressed disappointment that since the launch of the free education policy, grants to early childhood education, primary and secondary schools, government has neglected to fund education for learners with special education needs and disabilities through provision of grants to special education units. Union President Frankson Musukwasa says this has hindered the provision of quality education delivery to the learners with special education needs and disabilities in the country. Dr. Musukwasa says that the union expected special education units this year to be funded independently from mainstream school grants, where units for learners with special education needs and disabilities exist using a ratio of 1 child in mainstream school to 10 children in special education units, 1 to 10 per ratio. He says if early child education, primary and secondary education can receive adequate funding, they neglect special education units that play a very fundamental role in provision of education for special education needs and disabilities learners. Dr. Msukwa says some school administrators in mainstream schools are reluctant to even distribute funds to special education units on the assumption that teaching and learning materials for learners with special education needs and disabilities can consume the entire grant, as materials are expensive and hence tend to neglect fundings of special units that fall under mainstream schools. Dr. Msukwa is however calling on the government to prioritize funding for the education of children with special education needs and disabilities. He says it is the union's firm belief that the government, through the Ministry of Finance and National Planning and the Ministry of Education, should ensure that special schools and special education units operate an independent account, just like the case with ECE, primary and secondary. The opposition leadership movement leader Richard Silumbe has maintained that the fight against corruption under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema is a joke. Dr. Silumbe says if President Hakainde Hichilema perceives corruption as an enemy of development, then he needs to be tough and vicious in this fight. Dr. Silumbe says the party in its manifesto has categorized corruption under defilement of the state, saying anyone who is caught dipping his hands in government coffers will be slapped with a punishment equal to the punishment that is given to a person that has defiled a child. He feels that this will be very severe enough to deter any form of corruption because no Zambian would be courageous enough to pocket public funds.
This is the kind of approach that leadership movement will undertake. We want a 7 years imprisonment for corruption, so that no one dares to pocket public funds. And when we do that, it means that no one, they'll be so scared, including myself. I wouldn't dare pocket a 500,000 kwacha public funds, because I know that I will rot in jail. And by so doing, we will keep our money safe. We will keep public funds, public property safe. No one will take advantage of it. And this is the way to keep a country, because everyone would have been given certain limitations. They know that the punishment is so severe, no one can bear it. And by so doing, we will also ensure that the departments that investigate corruption are independent. When they are independent, it means that they are able to investigate anybody. They are able to investigate myself, me as a head of state. They are able to investigate anyone. And by so doing, they will keep us in check. And we will be so sure and so fearful of pocketing public funds or taking advantage of public property. And that will ensure that we are keeping our resources available to every Zambian, and we are going to keep our resources to good use. We want every person to get into government to save and not to enrich themselves. If you didn't get rich when you were out of government, why should you expect to get rich when you are in power? That is not the kind of leadership we want to give to Zambian people. We want to give Zambians leadership that is innovative and creative. Leadership that thinks outside the box to solve national problems. Leadership that speaks to what is best in us, so that leadership can inspire Zambians to achieve excellence. That is the kind of leadership movement, that the kind of leadership movement is bringing.
Former Zambia Union of Financial Institutions and Allied Workers Zufyayo President Caiphas Mukokha has described the ongoing load shedding being experienced in the country as a national catastrophe which is inevitable. MMD spokesperson Caiphas Mukokha has since advised ZESCO management to start thinking outside the box and invest more in alternative sources of energy such as thermal and solar. Dr. Mukokha says there is also a need for ZESCO management to invest in power stations across the country, saying the limited number of power stations in the country is a contributing factor. He tells QTV News in an interview that the Minister of Energy should up his game and ensure that ZESCO is doing the correct thing, because the load shedding is affecting the businesses of small-scale medium enterprises who depend on electricity to do their business.
I'm going to claim that not being affected by the long protracted hours of load shedding. So our advice to ZESCO management is that they should think outside the box. What we mean by that is they need to invest in thermal electricity and also solar power, because this load shedding, it is inevitable. We cannot blame them, because it is a natural catastrophe, for lack of a better term, and no one should be blamed for that. But ZESCO will be blamed for not thinking outside the box. Because as it is now, we don't know what is for the Zambians in as far as next year is concerned. Here we are talking about the rain pattern. So if this is going to be the style which ZESCO will maintain, load shedding, then they are going to be blamed. And they should also invest a lot. They should ensure that they create as many power stations as possible, as opposed to the limited power stations they are relying on. That is not helping the nation at all, because what is truth is that the population of this country is also increasing. So when you have limited power stations, then you are creating the own problem.
The opposition National Restoration Party has advised President Hakainde Hichilema to retire police officers who still feel indebted to the former administration of the Patriotic Front. Party Deputy Secretary General Martin Malenga says he is aware that some police officers who were employed during the Patriotic Front regime have been promoted and are mocking the UPND supporters as well as engaging in unprofessional manner as they do their work. Mr. Malenga is calling on the Inspector General of Police, Lemiga Joba, to be on alert and deal with officers who are unprofessional. He says that the police require that those employed are professional and have good ethics that guide their profession.
And we saw that over a period of time, some of them have risen in terms of ranks, and they are still serving in this service. The president has come out to say, let's not fire anyone, let's not retire anybody in national interest because of having affiliated themselves to this probably political party that was in power then. What the president has come out to say is that let them know that they are there to save the Zambian people and not to save whoever could have put them or made them join the service. As a result of that, we are seeing that there are those that are still feel they are indebted to the other colleagues that could have put them in power, and they are now mocking the UPND cadres and those of us that supported the UPND. We are calling on now the IG to make sure that if these are spotted and are found to be the ones victimizing our cadres by way of saying you are not being supported, in inverted commas, by the leaders that are in the UPND, it's quite unfortunate, and we feel these must be reported to the IG that they are not being professional, because the service requires that they have good ethics that guides their profession. But if they are trying to mock the UPND that are harboring, I would say in inverted commas, some kind of resentment because they went through a lot at the time they were in opposition. Now this time around, they want to be treated in a manner that is as good as they would treat anybody else and not to be mocked by the police officers. So we feel it's quite unfortunate that we've got officers in this country who can have the guts or the audacity to mock the UPND cadres and those that supported the alliance. That's quite unfortunate, and we feel that the Police Service Commission and the IG must take interest into getting to understand where this problem is, and if those are found, they need to be talked to and be given direction on how they need to work as police officers.
The ruling United Party for National Development UPND member Hevene Hachombwa has urged the UPND youths in Kanyama constituency to start mobilizing for President Hakainde Hichilema for the 2026 presidential election. Speaking when he handed over 3,000 blocks worth 15,000 kwacha to the chairman of the UPND Chinika Ward 11, Ruben Luo, for the construction of the UPND Chinika Ward office in Kanyama constituency, Mr. Hachombwa says that this is done to mobilize more people to the party before the 2026 general elections. Mr. Hachombwa says there is need for all the wards in Kanyama constituency to have ward officers before the 2026 general elections in order to mobilize more people to the party. He further says that the construction of the ward office in Chinika will enable the local people of Kanyama constituency to know where they can find the UPND party.
Of blocks, because as a member of the party myself and my team, we thought it was very wise for us to start the mobilization of His Excellency, because as a party we have a mandate to ensure that we keep on growing the votes to the president. Therefore, we as a member of the party decided to contribute blocks towards the building of Chinika ward office, and we will make sure that we bring all the necessary blocks, because we are told we need about 3,000 blocks here. So as a member of the party myself and my team, we ensure that these blocks and others come on time. We ensure that we build this office on time so that the mobilization of the party in Kanyama must begin. The whole idea is we want to extend to all parts of Kanyama, because we reside here and we feel it is very important to begin from home. From here, Mukoro Ward, other wards, and ensure that each and every ward has an office to mobilize more people.
RS Dietary and Nutritional Consultancy founder Rita Siamfuko has expressed concern over the increasing number of lifestyle diseases in Zambia, particularly gastritis, which has become a major contributor to dietary deaths the country is recording annually. According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, gastric cancer is the 9th leading cause of cancer mortality in Zambia. Ms. Siamfuko says that the current state of gastritis in Zambia is worrying in that the number of patients frequenting clinics and hospitals is not reducing, thus the need of treating this issue as a matter of urgency so as to reduce the burden on health care systems. Ms. Siamfuko has observed with concern that some patients have resorted to using traditional healers on assertions that health facilities are not effectively treating the condition, a clear revelation of the investment and sensitization needed in the nutrition sector.
According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, gastric cancer is the 9th leading cause of cancer mortality in Zambia. The current state of gastritis in Zambia is worrying, in that the number of patients frequenting clinics and hospitals is not reducing. Thus, the need of treating this issue as a matter of urgency so as to reduce the burden on the healthcare systems. We have also observed that some patients have resorted to using traditional healers on assertion that health facilities are not effectively treating the condition, a clear revelation of the investment and sensitization needed in the nutrition sector. Therefore, the government should promote the consumption of fruits, vegetables, saying to read that every household plant fruit trees with gardens countrywide. It should also sensitize its citizens on dangers of gastritis, just like it does on COVID-19.
Girl children who used to miss class for 45 days per year will now be attending full-time class following the construction of shower rooms at Katete Primary School in Chibombo District, Central Province. Yurich Ackerman from the Trans Search Foundation through Child Fund, resulting in the construction of waterborne toilets, kiosk, and a 1x3 classroom blocks. Chibombo District Council Chairperson Newton Nyeleti has since thanked Mr. Ackerman for adopting Katete Primary School after earlier building 10 teachers' houses and the classroom blocks at Namununga Day School in Chibombo District. This came to light when Transsearch Foundation founder Yurich Ackerman commissioned projects at Katete Primary School in Chibombo. And Transsearch Foundation founder Yurich Ackerman assured that his organization remained committed to funding Zambia. Earlier, Katete Primary School head teacher Renatius Mushiwe explained that his school needed expansion as it was surrounded by 13 villages with a population of nearly 6,000. Mr. Mushiwe says that the school in Headman Mayaba's area in Mongole Chiefdom needed to have a grade 10 to 12 because the pupils covered over 10 kilometers to Namununga Day School and St. Edmund School. For more in international news, we monitored DW News.
In some breaking news, police say at least 10 people have been killed in a shooting in Los Angeles on Saturday night. The incident happened in Monterey Park in the south of California. Reports say a man with a semi-automatic weapon opened fire at a dance club close to where a large celebration had taken place earlier for the Chinese Lunar New Year. For more on this, let's bring in Jason Campadonia, a journalist in LA. Hello, Jason. What's the latest?
So right now, like you said, we have 10 people dead and apparently 10 others shot. So a total of 20 victims from a Chinese Lunar New Year celebration. The shooting reportedly happened in a ballroom that was nearby a celebration for the Lunar New Year. And the gunman is on the run. Right now, police, firefighters, paramedics, they've flooded the streets. They're interviewing as many people as possible. But not much is known right now. The Monterey Park PD, which is about 10 miles from downtown LA, are handling the investigation, but that's a very small police department. That's only about 75 sworn officers. So LA County, their sheriff's homicide detectives have now jumped in to help to see if we can find some answers.
Because answers are definitely needed. You say not much is known, but do we know anything about the possible motive?
No, not at this time, not right now. I can tell you that witness accounts from what I've gathered, people posting on social media, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and things, that the ballroom is used every Saturday night. And they have, swing dancing, they have ballroom type dancing there, and it's a very safe place to be. So motive right now remains a mystery.
Okay, Jason Campadonia.